What mgtow has in common with feminism. Well, a lot of people say that mgtow men either are a result of feminism or mgtow men are the polar opposites of feminism, in the sense that feminists are women who are mad at men and they believe men are oppressors, whereas mgtow men are mad at women and they believe women are oppressors. Well, instead of me delving into all that nonsense, let me just talk about what they have in common for a second. The irony is one of the biggest things that mgtow men have an issue with, and one of the biggest things that feminists have an issue with, are actually parallel. They're actually very similar things. So, women believe in something called the patriarchy. Women believe that men have consolidated power specifically to their gender, and that men rule the world by force and oppression over women, and that they will not let women into the upper echelons or the top positions in society. Well, the irony is there's a parallel that runs alongside that, or I would say even something that's interloping with mgtow, and that's mgtow men believe that women are fundamentally hypergamous and they choose the best mates, or they choose the best males to mate with, I should say. How does that correlate? How does that coincide? Well, if women don't want to be oppressed by the so-called patriarchy, then they should stop choosing men from a higher status, and they should start, instead of dating up or even dating across, maybe they should date down. You see how that works? The reason why men are in a position of power, the reason why men are leading the world, in order for women to even have a case for something called the patriarchy, is because nature and biology has put us in that position. If we're only viewed as important as long as we provide resources, then that's what we're going to adapt to. We're going to be resource earners. And in order to be resource earners, we have to be leaders. We have to be adept at success. We have to bring home the bacon. If we fail, we won't be able to reproduce. Our genes will not get chosen by women. So the irony is that women themselves and their own biology, which they just don't understand, has placed men in the position of leadership. Women subconsciously or consciously choose leaders. It's in their biology. And yet they'll turn around and tell us that we are oppressing them, and that is oppressing them. Well, then stop chasing us. And stop choosing men who are successful. It's funny how uneducated, especially of their own nature, feminists are. They don't even understand their own nature. And they're so wrapped up and fixated on this propaganda, this feminist propaganda, that men are oppressors, and all the little ins and outs of feminism, the wage gap and rape culture and toxic masculinity and the patriarchy, etc. They're so fixated on those points that they fail to even hear counterpoints. They fail to hear men's problems, and they fail to understand their own biology. They fail to understand sociology. They fail to understand social economic issues. They fail to understand familial dynamics. And when you study all that, it points to the fact that women are the ones who choose the men who are leaders. This is female nature. So instead of being at war with men, why don't you go to war with your own nature, feminists? It's an interesting point. It's an interesting thing to think about, and it's something that I think is, like I said, parallel. It's parallel. mgtow and feminism